Good day viewers, welcome to another edition of the Daily Strange Stories. I'm John Brown. As we approach the end of the work week, I hope you're feeling energized and ready to finish strong. Our lead story for today. Why Nathi Mthethwa was killed in France. He knew too much and had accessed some sensitive documents, even Bheki Cele suspects foul play. Paris holds its secrets close, but some secrets refuse to stay buried. The death of Nathi Mthethwa, South Africa's ambassador to France, is one of those secrets. Officially, it's a tragic accident, a fall from a 22nd floor hotel room. But scratch the surface and a darker narrative emerges. Whispers of sensitive documents, powerful figures with something to hide, and a growing sense that Mthethwa knew too much. We're not accepting the official story. Join us as we follow the clues, connect the dots, and ask the hard questions that someone doesn't want answered. This is an investigation into the death of an ambassador and the secrets he may have died to protect. Nathi Mthethwa lived a life of diplomacy, representing South Africa on the world stage. But his story didn't end with handshakes and state dinners. It ended abruptly, violently, with a fall from a Parisian high-rise. Was it a tragic accident, the kind that can befall anyone? Or was it something far more sinister? As we delve into the final days of Ambassador Mthethwa, we uncover a web of unanswered questions, a trail of whispers about sensitive information, and the unsettling feeling that his death may have been more than just a fall. Even Bheki Cele, a former police general and a former police minister who knows the shadows of South African politics, blames foul play too as the real cause of Nathi Mthethwa's death. This is the story of a life cut short and the secrets that may have led to its end. This story begins with Mthethwa's life, one marked by dedication to his country's struggle and rise through its government ranks. Born in areas near Durban like Claremont and Clarwater, he started as one of 5 members in the ANC Youth League in KwaZulu-Natal 3 decades ago. His path led him to key roles, serving as Minister of Police from May 2009 to May 2014, then shifting to arts and culture, and later sport, arts, and culture until 2023. By December 2023, he had been appointed as South Africa's head of mission to France, a position that placed him in the elegant world of diplomacy, far from the dusty political battles back home. He presented his credentials to places like the Principality of Monaco just days before his death, meeting figures connected to South Africa's own like Princess Charlene, the Olympic swimming champion. Mthethwa's personal life added layers to his public image. He met his wife, Philisiwe Buthelezi, a successful businesswoman and chief executive of the National Empowerment Fund, at an ANC conference in 2009. They tied the knot on the 16th of February 2013 in a wedding ceremony themed around France, held in the scenic town of Franschhoek. Their union seemed to blend love with ambition, but now it forms part of a sorrowful backdrop to the events in Paris. On the evening before his death, his wife received a message from him that raised alarms, leading her to alert French police. The next day, the 30th of September 2025, his body was discovered in the internal courtyard of the Hyatt Regency Paris Étoile Hotel, a towering structure that stands out as one of the tallest in the city, stretching 34 stories high and offering views of landmarks like the Eiffel Tower. French authorities have described the incident as a likely suicide, noting that Mthethwa checked into the hotel about 10 days earlier and reserved a room on the 22nd floor. Reports indicate he used a pair of scissors to force open a window before the fall, with no signs of anyone else entering the room around that time. The hotel itself is a busy place, not overflowing with luxury but filled with travelers like middle-aged American couples pulling suitcases across its vast tiled lobby dotted with pillars and light fixtures. It costs around 10,300 rand per night for a room, a detail that highlights the high-end setting of this puzzling end. Yet, the quick conclusion by investigators, reaching a determination within 12 hours, has sparked skepticism, especially when initial reports mentioned his cell phone being found in a park, only for that detail to change later. Back in South Africa, the government's response has fueled more doubts. The Department of International Relations and Cooperation first called it a sudden health complication, a natural cause, but friends and colleagues recall Mthethwa appearing healthy and full of energy at a cultural diplomacy event just 2 days prior. No medical report or post-mortem details have been shared publicly, breaking from the usual diplomatic tradition of clear transparency in such cases. French officials have deferred to Pretoria for more information, but the silence from there has left a gap that speculation rushes to fill. This lack of openness is not new. South Africa has seen similar mysteries before, like the 2015 death of a defense attaché in Burundi, an unexplained car accident involving a trade envoy in Nigeria, and the sudden passing of a cultural diplomat in Cuba. Each time, explanations lean toward natural causes without full documentation, leaving families and the public in unease. What makes Mthethwa's case stand out is its timing and his deep ties to ongoing probes. Just a week before his death, on the 19th of September 2025, his name surfaced at the Madlanga Commission, an inquiry into criminality, political interference, and corruption in the criminal justice system, led by retired Constitutional Court Justice Cele Madlanga. Testimony from KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi highlighted interference during Mthethwa's time as police minister, describing it as the worst he had ever seen. Mkhwanazi, who acted as National Police Commissioner from October 2011 to June 2012, recounted being pressured to halt the prosecution and disciplinary actions against former crime intelligence head Lieutenant General Richard Mdluli.
Commissioners, when I spoke on the 5th of March 2025 in Parliament, I made a reference to the experience that I had from 2011. And what I see happening right now, it takes me back to 2011. And that makes me realize that I cannot just sit back and allow the irregularities that were happening in 2011 when I was the acting national commissioner to repeat itself, because it's going to become a culture, it's going to be embedded in how the justice system works in this country. Therefore, the citizens are not going to be safe. I've seen it in 2011 and it's happening again. As I said, Commissioners, when you look at my profile that I presented on the first day, that I joined the top management structure of the South African Police Service in 2011 when I was appointed as an acting national commissioner, appointed by President Zuma at the time. I must indicate that when I was appointed, the person that was the Minister of Police was Minister Mthethwa, Nathi Mthethwa. He was the Minister of Police. So when I asked about why you want to withdraw the letter of a criminal case, you've read the case and you wrote to me and you say, Zulu must go and face the music, why do you want to withdraw it? And she said, no, it's my career now in line. So I need to withdraw that. I made a wrong decision. I should not have said Zulu must be charged, which means she charged the wrong people in the higher echelon of maybe within the police structures or in government that did not want Zulu to be charged. And I refused to come back and withdraw the letter. And then I received a phone call from the Minister of Police, Nathi Mthethwa, Commissioners. I went to his residence in Waterkloof. And when I arrived there, the Inspector General is sitting on one side of the table, Mr. Mthethwa is sitting on the other side of the table. The Minister says to me that I forced the Inspector General of Intelligence to write the letter that says, Mkhwebi is wrong, this matter must go to court. She said, I forced her. Then I told her, I said, no, Minister, Advocate Khateb is an old woman. She's an advocate. How can I point a gun at her and force her to write a letter? Besides, when this letter was written in her office, and she actually is not the author of the letter. The author of the letter is Advocate J. Governor, who is an experienced prosecutor person who's working in that office. She's the one that drafted the letter. Not you, not the Inspector General of Intelligence. That means I didn't want to hear any of that. A simple say, must stop prosecuting Zuli, or must stop disciplinary case against Zuli. Now, if we talk about political interference, that was the worst I've ever experienced. At that time, Commissioner, I come from the specialized operation. The only thing I know is to chase criminals. And I'm promoted to become the acting national commissioner, and I'm confronted with this in front of me. And I said, but this is not what I signed for when I joined the police. This can't be right. The minister can't give me these instructions. Then I said to the minister, maybe you brought me into this position and you thought you're going to use me as a pawn because perhaps of my age or whatever, but you are wrong. I'm not going to do that. If you want me to stop charging Zulu, you must put it in black and white. And then the minister said, no, Inspector General must give something in writing to the National Commission to stop this investigation. Inspector General said, no, come with me to my office so I can give you a letter.
This came at a time when Mthethwa oversaw the security cluster, and such moves suggested a pattern where loyalty to certain figures overrode legal processes. These revelations tie back to broader scandals that have haunted Mthethwa's career. Earlier inquiries, like the Zondo Commission on State Capture, linked him to misuse of crime intelligence funds, including a luxury Mercedes-Benz and a 200,000 rand wall built around his home in KwaZulu-Natal. He had also been implicated in the Nkandla cover-up, where public funds were misused for upgrades at a former president's residence, and in the events at Marikana in August 2012, where miners lost their lives during a strike at the Lonmin mine near Rustenburg.
Honorable Chair, honorable members, people will say Mkhwanazi is very insensitive, but when we talk the honest truth, we must tell the truth. The country was in pain to listen to how much of money was spent at the former president's house, homestead at Nkandla, because there was an accountability that was happening at the time. But this government has never paid attention on the amount of expenditure that was incurred by crime intelligence over years. Interrogate that within the Secret Service account, the misuse of the Secret Service account. Obviously, the Joint Standing Committee is supposed to do that. It's disturbing when reports supposed to be presented to such structures to hold people accountable. Nothing happens to it. We are sitting today, the country is in mourning because we lost one of our ambassadors in France. But then ambassador was a minister of police. As you switch on the television and you watch the homestead of the former minister of police, you're going to see a very big wall, perimeter wall, that was built by the money from crime intelligence. But nobody was held accountable for such, and reports are there. So 2011, we're experiencing all these things. It's members from crime intelligence that takes the money out of crime intelligence to use them to take control of the executive authority. The minister never asked for the wall. The members from crime intelligence took the money, secret fund account, to make that wall so they can get control of the minister. So tomorrow they can then loot that money on their own. Then the minister can't say anything. It's the same thing bringing us here today. Minister of Police, Minister Senzo Mkhunu, was made to sign a letter by the raw people within the organization.
Despite these, Mthethwa moved through roles unscathed, even proposing a 22 million rand monumental flag in Freedom Park in May 2022 to promote social cohesion, a plan criticized for its high cost and suspected hidden motives. The Madlanga Commission's focus on such interference has raised questions about whether Mthethwa's knowledge posed a threat. Sources within the diplomatic community suggest he had grown frustrated with government policies and irregular spending in embassies, possibly accessing documents that detailed financial mismanagement or other irregularities. His planned return home for reassignment discussions added to the tension, as internal ANC rivalries have a history of valuing silence over transparency. Could this have led to a calculated effort to keep him quiet? The theory gains weight when considering South Africa's pattern of political tensions, where debates on diplomatic accountability are heating up. Adding to the intrigue is the international angle. France plays a major role in global security, involved in conflicts like those in Ukraine and the Sahel region, as well as Africa's shifting alliances. As ambassador, Mthethwa handled sensitive information between African states and European agencies, his sharp mind making him a key player in these dynamics. Rumors from former intelligence operatives hint at a professional operation, clean and hard to trace, possibly linked to broader covert dealings. This echoes historical events, like the 1988 assassination of Dulcie September, the ANC's chief representative in France, who was killed in Paris amid the anti-apartheid struggle. Now, decades later, another South African figure meets a mysterious end in the same city, prompting parallels that unsettle many. Bheki, the controversial former police minister, has openly expressed suspicions, drawing from his own experience in law enforcement. As a former SAPS national commissioner with vast experience in state security, he points to conflicting reports from French authorities, such as the changing story about the cell phone's location and delays in allowing South African detectives to travel to Paris. These holdups have deepened doubts, with Cele questioning how investigators could conclude so quickly without thorough checks.
Well, I want to make it very clear that this is my ideas. This is how I think. I have not had the position of the ANC on it. I have not had the position of the government, of which I'm not part of it anyway. But remember, that is my environment. I lived for a very long time in that environment of things. How are they followed? How are they done before you make the announcement and all that? The other thing, after we have made the announcement, after we have told people what happened, you don't change now and again. Too many things that have changed. The rooms, the change of times, the change of bookings, where the cell was found, where the cell has not been found, and all that. But the real stuff is when, I don't know the reason exactly why the team led by one of the most decorated detectives, Makashalala is one of the most decorated detectives, were very hopeful. I don't know why they didn't go, but that personally increases all the suspicions.
In other words, you might be falling within the category of those who don't believe he may have committed suicide?
Well, for me, it was too early, it was too soon to announce what really happened. I would have expected the extra kind of investigation. And I would have expected maybe to wait for the delegation from South African police to share these things with them, rather than, because now the door is shut. Even if they go there, I don't know if they, but I know yesterday they were still here. Even if they go there, what are they going to? Going to be briefed by the very same thing. It does look like they are not going to be given an open door to do their investigation and all that kind of stuff. I hope my suspicions, I hope what I think is wrong, what is right is what has been announced, but it will take me a lot of convincing to believe what I have heard.
His views come at a time when he himself faces scrutiny at the Madlanga Commission and a parliamentary committee linked to unanswered calls and business meetings with Vusimusikat Madlala, a businessman facing charges over a 360 million rand police contract during his tenure. Despite this, Cele's stance reflects a personal belief that Mthethwa's death does not add up, separate from any official ANC position. Efforts to uncover more have met resistance. A journalist tracing Mthethwa's final steps in Paris described the Hyatt Regency as a soulless skyscraper in a business district, surrounded by a grey shopping centre. Attempts to speak with hotel staff or photograph the courtyard led to polite but firm refusals, with a concierge shaking his head repeatedly. Nearby, the official South African ambassador's residence on Rue Cimarosa, a handsome three-story building opposite the Argentinian embassy, flies the national flag and stands near a luxury wellness center offering biohacking treatments. A walk along the Seine under chestnut trees connects it to the hotel, a path Mthethwa might have taken, though diplomats often travel in tinted cars. At the embassy further along, marked with a welcome, Bienvenue Ekaya sign honoring a recent deputy president's visit, inquiries about coping with the loss went unanswered, the reception overwhelmed and the condolence book already removed. Memorials and the funeral have brought communities together while highlighting lingering suspicions. At a service in Pinetown's Civic Centre, hundreds in ANC colours sang struggle songs, praising Mthethwa's commitment as a loyal cadre who shaped post-apartheid South Africa. His cousin Thembi spoke of the family's appreciation for the recognition of his contributions. Yet, the event also served as a space for reflection on political critiques. The state funeral at his homestead in Gwambonambi on KwaZulu-Natal's north coast followed traditions, including the slaughter of a goat. Family members, including his son, performed a ritual to fetch his spirit from the Paris hotel, a cultural act amid the grief. Mourners, dressed in black with dark sunglasses, gathered in the lush green area, but the bizarre circumstances of his death left many uneasy. Comparisons to other figures add depth to the tragedy. During the COVID-19 pandemic, ANC Minister Tina Joemat-Pettersson was found dead at her Rondbosch home in June 2023, following allegations of extortion tied to an inquiry. Her final words expressed despair, and investigations continue under a shadow of possible suicide. These cases point to a pattern where leaders from the liberation era face isolation and distress, their fights for justice contrasting with personal struggles in solitude. The French investigation, known for its precision as seen in high-profile cases like Princess Diana's 1997 crash, has found no evidence of others involved, but the South African police was blocked by the French authorities from sending 5 investigators to probe Nathi Mthethwa's mysterious death.
Thanks. With regard to sending a delegation to France, we are working on a police-to-police cooperation, and we do have a senior officer that will be in that country. He will be leaving today, and will update the nation in terms of the activities and his whereabouts once he's there. But we reduced our delegation. We have one senior officer that will be meeting our counterparts in France, and he will report back when he comes back.
How is the response being?
Maybe let me correct you first. We're not going there to do investigation. We are going there to be briefed, get a report from our counterparts in terms of what has happened. It's unlike they send you a report you read from here. We take it as very important that the late ambassador was representing South Africa in that country, was representing the president of this country. And when such incident happen, it is our responsibility to make sure that we liaise with our counterparts. We are aware that, of course, other our counterparts in Derco, they've been involved, and we are not going to investigate. We're just going there to receive a report from first hand, and of course ask questions and be taken through certain things, and from there we'll be coming back and report them.
Still, the absence of communication records or a clear timeline keeps theories alive. Was Mthethwa's access to sensitive embassy documents or intelligence the key? His role in balancing South Africa's relations with the West, BRICS partners, and African blocs made him more than a messenger. He was part of strategic influence, where secrets can turn deadly. As South Africa repositions itself on the global stage, this death is not just personal, it is a political event that tests the nation's commitment to truth over secrecy. The handling reflects a trend where protecting the state's image seems to outweigh full disclosure, leaving citizens to piece together the puzzle. In a country with a history of conspiracies, fueled by inquiries revealing ties between police and criminals at high levels, nothing feels impossible. High-ranking politicians rarely end their lives this way, with the only recent example being an Inkatha Freedom Party MP in 2014, under very different health circumstances. The real question lingers: if Mthethwa knew too much about irregular dealings or political pressures, could forces have orchestrated this to silence him? The Madlanga Commission's revelations about interference in cases like Mhluli's, combined with past scandals, suggest motives rooted in protecting powerful networks. Even his diplomatic posting raises eyebrows. How does someone with such a checkered history, from receiving gifts and funds in dubious ways to roles in major controversies, become an ambassador to a nation like France? Critics see it as a dumping ground for former struggle figures, hoping host countries overlook the baggage. France itself is navigating political shifts under its leadership, but sending an emissary with ties to state capture hardly strengthens ties. This points to broader issues in South Africa's diplomatic service, the need for educated, adaptable representatives free from ideological baggage like outdated revolutionary calls. Recent global events show the urgency. Without reform, the country risks fading in relevance. Weeks after the death, with no closure, the story continues to evolve. The body was flown back amid doubts, and family rituals sought to honor his spirit. Media outlets from the Parisian to Reuters and local ones like the Mail and Guardian have covered the fall, the distressing message, and the political context, but gaps remain. Perhaps the deepest mystery is why transparency is so elusive, inviting doubt where certainty should prevail. In reflecting on all this, one cannot ignore the human side. Mthethwa was described by those who knew him as intelligent, gentle, and reflective, a man who rose from humble beginnings to privilege in one of the world's most enchanting cities. Yet, something led to that fateful moment on an autumn day, with chestnut leaves turning red along the Seine. Was it despair, or was it something more sinister, tied to the documents and knowledge he held? As this tale of intrigue and loss draws to a close, the questions persist, demanding answers from those in power. What do you think really happened to Nathi Mthethwa? Do you believe he caused his own death, or does the evidence point to foul play involving sensitive secrets and political motives, and why do you feel that way? Thanks for watching this news bulletin. Please share your opinion in the comments section. We would be glad to read and respond to your comments. Let's meet again tomorrow in our next strange story. Have a fantastic Friday and get ready for the weekend.